Jonathan Chait has a new piece for The Atlantic about Pete Hegseth entitled Donald Trump's Most Dangerous Cabinet Pick. And Jonathan writes in part this: Hegseth may be no less nutty than any of Trump's more controversial nominees, and given the power he is likely to hold, command over 2 million American military personnel, he's almost certainly far more dangerous than any of them. In his three most recent books, Hegseth puts forward a wide range of familiarly misguided ideas. Vaccines are poisonous, climate change is a hoax, George Floyd died of a drug overdose and was not murdered, the Holocaust was perpetrated by German socialists, that the entire basic design of the U.S. public education system is the product of a century-long, totally successful communist plot. A defense secretary with a tenuous grip on reality, who cannot differentiate foreign enemies from domestic political opponents, and who seems to exist in a state of permanent hysteria, is a problem that the United States never had to survive, has never had to survive. The main question I was looking to answer when I started reading Hegseth's collected works was whether he would follow a Trump command to shoot peaceful protesters. After having read them, I don't think he would even wait for the order.
Okay, that's some strong words from Jonathan Chait. We're going to get him on the show this week to talk about it. I think it's going to be on tomorrow. Richard, though, the concerns that Jonathan expressed, again, concerned obviously by Democrats in the Senate, also Republicans in the Senate. The more writings they hear about civil war, about all the things that Jonathan Chait wrote up right there, about women, not just in the military, but women outside of the military, the more deeply concerned they seem to be with this pick. And as John Lemire reported this morning, Tulsi Gabbard was number one in the list of concerns. I think that's shifting now to Pete Hegseth.
Well, the reason it's shifting is when you think about the fitness of someone for one of these top jobs, you look at the individual, but then you multiply at times the importance of the job. And Hegseth is ultimately a far more important job because Secretary of Defense, being in the chain of military command, you've got nearly 3 million civilian and military employees. We're in a world of, we've got active conflicts in 2 geographies. We could have one in a 3rd geography. We face a moment where a lot of our defense industrial base is inadequate. A lot of our military is no longer technologically ready for this moment in history. So this has become a pivotal job. But this, Joe, this is why God invented public hearings.
Yeah.
You want to get this stuff out. And
was that God? Or was that Madison and Hamilton? Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's why. I mean, you want all this stuff out there. My guess is ultimately the court of public opinion will do this guy in.
Jonathan's piece, April, talking about how this nominee Hegseth would be, before the command, be ready to come down on peaceful protesters. And as you know, many of us were at the forefront of that, and young activists. Do you think that will come up in the hearings? And does it disturb you that they're blatantly nominating some people that clearly would go and beyond the boundaries that we've seen in terms of not only protests, but in many other areas, aside from the fact that he has certainly questions about his management skills and some accusations of sexual misconduct?
Reverend Al, you know, you hit the nail. It's like peeling an onion. With every layer, you tear up. And at the article that really made me think he cannot differentiate between foreign enemies and domestic political opponents. We saw this across the street from the White House when Donald Trump wanted to push back those who were legally and under the Constitution demonstrating for their rights about George Floyd. And you are not supposed to use the military against peaceful protesters who are concerned, just showing great concern and wanting to be the court of public opinion to change the mind of the president on this issue and others. And if this man is the man of war, if you will, could be possibly the head of the Department of Defense, the man of war. You got diplomacy at state, and you got the man of war defense. If he is believing and espousing some of these conspiracy theories, it is greatly concerning. It's just like being the president. You have to have a sober mind. You have to be able to see clearly, see the foundation move, because anything that he does can affect not just this nation, but the world.
Yeah.
It is very concerning.
Absolutely. Republican Senator, oh, so sorry.
No, I wanted to ask Jonathan,
Yeah.
tell us what you're reporting on this.
Yeah, the Hegseth pick is now the one that the Trump team feels less confident about, in part because he wasn't, I'm told, fully transparent about this accusation in 2017 of the sexual assault case in California, those accusations, that he didn't fully tell them what was going on. And that secondly, as we talked about earlier in the show, now that Matt Gaetz has pulled out, there is a sense that there are a few Republican senators, and we ticked through them earlier, McConnell, Murkowski, Collins, Tillis, Young, the rest, who have great reservations about Hegseth with his controversial beliefs, and also just his lack of experience managing anything, particularly a bureaucracy of 3 million people, that they're not sure that he should be at the head of the DOD. So there's no sense yet that the Trump team is waffling, that the president-elect is going to pull this back. But he has expressed to some anxieties about this pick. And he was even willing to fight more for Gaetz, perhaps, than he suggested he would for Hegseth. So, Donnie, we'll have to see how this plays in the days ahead. But this is, again, someone... I mean, this is one of the most important jobs in government. There's a lot riding on this pick. Do Republicans have a chance to draw a line and say, no, not for us?
I don't think he's going to get through. If you look at some of the picks, and we've got Treasury, we've got a solid pick, we've got State, we've got a solid pick, we've got Commerce, we've got a solid pick, and then we've got the picks that are out of the box. And maybe I'm just too hopeful. I don't think he gets through. I think this is a harbinger. If he does get through, we got a rough 4 years out of us. I mean, that this one, there's a lot of tells in this one.
Yeah.
Well, only because it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
He is the second, the SecDef is the second most powerful person
It's a big job.
probably on the planet.
Yeah.
But also because of the Insurrection Act. It's not just the foreign policy consequences of
it's
this
really
guy.
here, yeah.
It's here at home also. If you have protests, say, over deportations, there'll be real questions about the use of the military in that context.
All right.